effective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 7 of the season, coming to you today from Summit Point. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Charles, off the back of last week's rather interesting race, shall we say, we head off to a track that we know is going to be fast and fun. Summit Point and Spec Racer Fords. Any car that drafts well and Summit Point goes together. For some, like peanut butter and chocolate, others like peanut butter and cement. So we'll have to see who's going to be enjoying a nice little lunchtime snack here and who's going to be eating the road.
Yeah, absolutely. This is this is our favorite, what I like to refer to as a fist fight in a phone booth. Just a very, very tight track, even for these cars. Pretty narrow, not a lot of room to work. There's only a couple really good places to make moves. We'll talk about that more a little bit later, but it is going to be fun. Everybody knows the track. It's one of the free tracks here on iRacing, and it's one of the first tracks you get a chance to really put cars around. and it's kind of a fan favorite here in the SCCA cars, such as the Spec Racer and the V's and the Formula Ford. So, yeah, looking forward to a really fun race today. Got a nice field, 32 cars out here, which is going to feel like 60 when we get started. So it'll be fun to watch how it all gets started here, and hopefully we'll have us a nice clean race. But there's going to be issues here and there.
Yeah, it is going to be as smooth of a race as we can expect here at Summit Point, where it's usually going to have at least a couple of casualties throughout, shall we say. But I have confidence in these drivers. I think we're going to have a fun race, even if there's some drivers that get left by the side of the road in a cloud of dust and steam in the aftermath. Currently in the midst of qualifying, Scott Russell is your provisional pole sitter. Nathaniel Schramm set to join him on the front row. Lucas Clement is your current Spec 2 pole sitter, as Antonio Reese is the leader in your Masters category. We'll get a little bit farther in depth in qualifying in a few moments. Time for now, though, I think we'll take a quick little gander at the championship point standings before we get too lost up into this. And also, we'll be talking about this a lot. Give a thank you to Bobby West for sponsoring this broadcast as well here of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here today. Let's take a look at your championship points. Nathaniel Schramm sits atop of the points right now. 594 is his tally. Jason Green, bit farther back, slotted in second at 512. Dirk Braun slotted in third, not so fitting, with triple fours as his points tally right now. Aleix Bleva is in fourth at 394, with Marco Panero completing your top five. Interesting to see the likes of Josh Justice, Scott Russell, Britton Azelli, Sulal Shutley, and Angel Soto up there in the top 10 as well. They're always very quick in these cars. Looking forward to seeing what they may be able to do, because there are a decent amount of them, I believe, here in this session today. We'll take a look now at Spec 2, where Phil Berry has been able to put together a very good season, 402 points at the moment. As we get into the second half of this campaign here in Season 2, Bust Simpkins is second place at the moment in points, with our very own Mr. Joshua Wilkie falling off a little bit, hoping that the falling anvils don't catch Josh too often here this season, because again, I like job security. Paul Jackson is in fourth, with Jeff Jacobson completing your top five. Dennis Furia, Steven Saunders, Matt Thompson, Joaquim Osbeck, and Adam Bradshaw complete your top 10. Charles, how about you run us through the Masters category? That's always competitive.
Absolutely. Antonio Reese leading the Masters category here, 413 points. About 50 points or so behind is Tom Gradwell in second. Chris Thorpe running in third. Brad Cathcart, Chris Murakami, your top five. And then Rich Meesters, Jim Brewster, Jeff Wupker, Jorg Monty, Adam Bradshaw round out your top 10. And just keep an eye on Meesters. He's had some good runs as of late. And we'll see if he's able to close that gap. But I was just looking at that Spec 2, really, really tight in the Spec 2 class.
And so let's get into the groove of qualifying by taking a look at an onboard lap here with Rich Meesters heading his way down this disproportionately long start-finish straightaway. You can see how long of a run it is into this heavy braking zone, probably the heaviest of the lap of turn 1 and 2. Fantastic overtaking opportunity. Look at the asphalt, though, heading through there. A continual theme throughout this entire racetrack and this rather old scan of Summit Point is the asphalt quality or lack thereof, but he can keep the momentum through that turn. Now heading into turn number 3. This turn, I think, was always a real choke point, but even more so now with those updated gravel physics that have been around for quite some time now. Pretty much feels like you slam into a brick wall if you run too wide through there. Now off through the kink of turn number 4 and turn 5. I remember the first time that I covered the Spec Racer Fords running here many, many moons ago over in a Ray Esports Club Racing League broadcast back when they were on Tuesday nights. Remember some wild finishes here in the Spec Racer Fords, expecting it to be no different here. That's a tight, twisty, and technical section of 5, 6, 7, 8, now through turn number 9, building up that momentum after the kind of just middling troublesome spots of this track. I think Rich Meester is trying to let some cars by the draft. Ever important here around this racetrack and ever important here in this qualifying session. Gotta have to worry about that pit entry. You can see there kind of a good opportunity that we saw there with Meesters a little bit slow and tighter on the infield. The pit entry, very easy to hop off the berm and feels like you fall off a cliff as you head your way through there. But the actual final turn around this racetrack, real tough to master as well. That right there was a lap of your Masters pole sitter at the moment of Rich Meesters. Getting into happy hour very soon here in this broadcast. 5 minutes left to go here in qualifying, there or thereabouts. Drivers looking to set the best lap times that they can. Before we go a little bit farther along on this broadcast, though, I do want to address some pretty sad news that came out of the racing world just about 24 hours ago. The world lost a great champion in the form of Alex Zanardi, two-time kart champion in 1997 and 1998. And outside of the success on the racetrack, which was certainly plentiful and probably would have been a lot more, he was an inspiration to many, not just in his home nation of Italy, but really across the globe after his terrible accident at the Lausitz Ring in 2001, where he lost both of his legs. Came back to the world of racing, ended up racing at the 2018 Daytona 24, which was the only time I ever really got to see him compete, at least here in the States. But outside that, he even returned to the Lausitz Ring 2 years later when Champ Car at the time returned there for, I think it was the 5th race of their season, and it decided to complete the race in an Indy car powered with controlled by hand controls, I should say. Drove around the racetrack, was actually quick enough to put himself 4th on the grid for that race had he actually qualified and decided to complete that race. He decided to do the whole laps that he had left, and after that, never stepped into an IndyCar again in the heat of competition. But whether it be in the world of racing, the world of just inspiring those in the world of motorsports that grew up seeing him compete and be one of the best drivers in the world come time for the late 90s, or even his time in Paralympic competition, hand cycles right towards the end of his athletic career. Unfortunately, had been battling some pretty severe health setbacks, got involved in a nasty accident a couple of years ago, and even had a home fire, I believe, back in 2023. Unfortunately, lost his life on May 1st of this year. And I know waking up to that news, even as somebody who didn't get to see him compete in his peak, was it's sad to see a man like him go, but you know, he may have only been around for 59 years, but he lived one hell of a life. So our thoughts certainly go out to the family of Alex Zanardi at this very difficult time. Getting into the end of qualifying, though, switching off into some more lighthearted affair. Alex was a racer. That's the best thing you could say about a driver, and he would want us to talk about the racing. Here's how it gets right now. We're seeing those quicker times get set here, Charles. A litany of green times, these drivers setting personal bests. Now expecting some session bests here soon with the fuel ever lower. These cars getting a heck of a lot lighter and a lot punchier, and the track pretty much packed with cars and loaded with slipstream opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. As as we say, business is picking up. As Nate Schramm is up to the top of the leaderboard here in qualifying, 2 minutes to go, and got some very fast racers with him. And just really want to kind of shout out Scott Russell. Has just improved tremendously over the past few weeks. This season just appears like he's just a little bit quicker than he was over seasons past, and is really up there and competing for overall podiums here this season. So good to see Scott up there in third in this qualifying session, as we still have a few more, a couple more chances to get a lap in here. Another shout out, Lucas Clement, currently P6 overall, leading Spec 2, and just ahead with less than a hundredth of a second between him and Hugh Simpkins. That's the time we're going to see today, as these cars are going to run in a pack, and those packs are only going to be broken up by people making mistakes or collisions. So this is what you expect to see. Expect to see the big draft train here for a vast majority of the race, at least until we get up to our pit stops. And it's just going to be like that, I think, for the entire event, as it usually is here at Summit Point.
Yeah, no, there's going to be so many twists and turns in this race coming up. Short lap times, really punchy race. You're not going to be able to let your guard down at any point throughout it. Even down in pit lane, you've always got to be worrisome. Probably the shortest pit lane that we'll be running all season long here in the Spec Racer Fords. Just a peculiar racetrack, but one that has its own little unique charm. It's a track that I nearly ended up visiting quite a few moons ago, back towards the tail end of my karting days. I was going to run a Washington, D.C. region autocross event there, and didn't end up making the trip. That would be about 4 or 5 hours, something like that. People often forget how large the state of West Virginia is. My late Aunt Doris lived in West Virginia. I remember thinking, as we were driving through there, around that small little protuberance in the north part of West Virginia that just hugs the western border between PA and Ohio. I remember driving through there and thinking, oh yeah, we should go down and visit Aunt Doris. I hadn't seen her since about 2012. We'd think this every single time we were coming back from from out west driving on I-70. And we would look, oh, she's still like 6 to 7 hours away, just out in the middle of absolutely nowhere in West Virginia. That state is quite large. I've heard it's very beautiful in that part of the country.
Well, it's been a long time since I've been up through there, but did take a trip here from my hometown of back at the time when I was not living in Birmingham, but in Alabama. Took a trip with my dad and one of his friends, and we drove up to Pittsburgh from here, and drove up through West Virginia through the mountains up there, and it is absolutely beautiful. As we see the festivities have commenced here at the end of qualifying, with Scott taking a jump, a couple other guys doing that as well, just kind of getting a little loose here before we start our race. So yeah, very, very beautiful country up through there, and so hopefully get a chance to do that again one of these days. You know, it's always fun to kind of drive around this country. There's so many things to see, and so many different things that you get to visit, and there's a little bit of everything here in the U.S. And I think that's what most people don't realize, is you can find pretty much anything you want here without having to go overseas to go find it.
Yeah, it is a very beautiful country that we live in. The only time that I've driven around this country and I wasn't a fan of the view was driving in northern Ohio right towards the end of summer. Especially around Cleveland, where everything is dead. I mean, their river caught on fire once, so I guess it does make sense. But let's take a look at the starting grid, because we have a short pace lap. So let me spray some WD-40 on the vocal cords and get this up and rolling. Nathaniel Schramm going to start from the pole. Jake Williams set to join him on the front row. Scott Russell going to be your P3 starter. Next to him will be Marco Pinero. Maurizio Nazelli going to start this race in 5th. Next to him will be your Spec 2 pole sitter of Lucas Clement. Hugh Simpkins will be in 7th. Dirk Braun in 8th. Jason Green in 9th. Rich Meesters, Masters pole sitter, completes your top 10. Aleix Pleva is in 11th. Sula Shutway is in 12th. 13th, we'll go to our very own Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Next to Andrew Love. His hometown track usually works sound here. Now he's going to be working the wheel of a Spec Racer Ford. Bill Barry in the Sesame Street racing car going to be starting this race in 15th. Next to Antonio Reese-Micchionio in P16. Steve Saunders will be in 17th. Next to Daniel Case. Joachim Osbeck will be alongside Adam Bradshaw. Brad Cathcart and Jim Brewster will make up row number 11. Chris Thorpe and Chris Murakami making up an all-Chris row number 12. Kurt Nunez and Sherman. Sure. Sometimes there's some names that break our graphics here. Mark Sherman will start this race in 26th place. Jeff Jacobson will be in 27th. Adam Bradshaw Jr. will start this race in 28th. Paul Jackson is in 29th. Diego Totoschini will start in 30th. Next to Dennis Furia. Michele Vaglini running at your top 32. And Zippy, not saying a qualifying time, will be your 33rd and last place starter. So 33 drivers got through it just as these drivers attempt to line up on the grid. There you can see quick little pace lap here there right before the final turn. So Charles, not a lot of time to brace ourselves for what's going to be a non-stop barrage of action for the next 40 minutes.
No, get in and buckle up, because it's going to be a fight for 40 minutes. Hey, good to see Michele Vaglini back. It's been a minute since he's been in a race. Good to see him back out on the track. And yeah, Zippy's out there. I think he came in the last minute, didn't even set a qualifying time. So he's going to start shotgun the field as the pace car is rolling out. And we're getting this thing going. And so, yeah, strap in, because it's going to be a 40-minute fight in a phone booth. And nerves will be frayed, and friendships will be questioned. And but it's going to be fun racing. Let's have some good fun. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, I can't tell whether this is going to be a fight or a phone booth or being locked in a locker with a pack of angry hornets. But either way, very happy to be here in the comfortable broadcast booth until the jumping shenanigans a little bit later on. They may strike us. The green flag flies. The drivers are on their way, and we're racing here at Summit Point. Fantastic start from Nathaniel Schramm, but a long run down into the first heavy braking zone. Just enough time for Jake Williams to mount a charge side by side as they head their way through the braking zone into one. Who's going to get this race lead? Will it be Schramm keeping the momentum rolling? Will it be Jake Williams trying to make something work? I believe it will be Schramm, as he's going to hold on to the inside approach heading into turn number 3. Now Jake Williams under a little bit of pressure, as I thought Marco Pinero was going to get a move done, but Pinero more worried about Scott Russell directly behind. Everybody getting off to a smooth start here. Not a lot of shuffling throughout the pack, although Panero and Russell have swapped spots along with some drivers further behind, and Chris Murakami already up 6 spots, as I may have spoke too soon.
Yep, Phil Berry, it looked like there was somebody else involved in that as well. So maybe Mark Sherman moving down. But yeah, a little bit of contact there coming through 4 into 5, a couple of cars off the track, and we got another one. Daniel Case, Adam Bradshaw. Oh, a bunch of cars involved.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the Spec Racer Fords at Summit Point if there weren't some casualties on lap 1. Unfortunately, lots of drivers running into trouble. Curtin Nunez now with a meatball flag. That's going to drop him out of contention pretty much from the get-go. Drivers dropping down. Joachim Osbeck has pulled it into the pits here. So a wild start, but not nearly as wild as I honestly expect heading into a Summit Point race. Single file throughout most of the front pack, although Leish Pleva trying to make up some moves. I believe that was side-by-side racing with himself and Dirk Braun. That's for the final 2 spots in the top 10.
Yeah, you saw the cars when we came through 3. They basically just lined up no tail because that's the way through. This is coming through this corner. So difficult to go through there. It's just as a single file. It's a really tight line, and they figured out very quickly that they weren't going to try and do that too wide. But I think others had other ideas. I don't think it worked out, as we've already had Todeschini, Nunez, and Cathcart in the pits. Did see Osbeck as well. I think he actually was running wide. I think that was Todeschini in the pits, but Osbeck ran wide in the final corner, was out in the dirt, had to bring that back in. So a little scrappy in the beginning lap here, but looks like things have started to settle down a little bit, and we got a couple of fast movers. Dennis Furia up 9 positions, Chris Murakami up 7. A couple other cars up 7 as well. Baglini and Salmon in the back are up 7 positions from the carnage we had on lap 1.
And so a quite smooth start to this race. Everybody's been able to cope with the challenge brilliantly thus far, although they are starting to get a little bit more froggy. You can see Dirk Braun trying to punch out ahead, get some moves done there into turn number 1. I believe he may be able to make that work himself. So smooth start for the field all in all. I think these drivers have been able to make it work. As I said a bit earlier on, this is such a tough track to just try and settle into a groove. You think it's simple with only 10 turns and the layout just being a tick under 2 miles, but it does absolutely pack a punch. You've got pretty much a mix of everything from medium and high-speed turns to the low, slow, fiddly bits.
Yeah, absolutely, as we're seeing the cars coming through 6 now. And you see the gaps, no real gap from P1 to P18, all within a second of each other, as we were looking at the intervals there. And so the first big gap is between Jim Brewster running at 18th, Jeff Jacobson running in 19th, of about 4.5 seconds or so. But everybody else still within a second, still within draft range of the cars in front. And, yeah, you saw Jason Green move around and try and get by Hugh Simpkins. I think he felt like Hugh may have been holding that second little line up. So he's just going to jump out, be the Pied Piper for that second group, and they'll see if they can close that gap down. But you can see not a lot of space between these top 18 cars.
Some shuffling going down. Hugh Simpkins dropping down the running order. I think we may have had a falling anvil ordered in the direction of that Spec 2 driver, still dropping down the running order. I think he's flatlined out in P15, as seeing as well as Steve Saunders start to drop down in the pace department as well. Outside of lap 1, it is, contact made there. That was Josh Wilkie going side by side. If they manage to get through that turn clean, I will be stunned. I think they did. Josh Wilkie still out there on the racetrack. I think that was him and Lucas Clement from the looks of it there as well.
So.
Golly.
Yeah, I think so. The battles have already started. Once again, this is a track that you can't really fault anybody for trying to fight. There's just not a lot of room otherwise to move, and my replay is broken, so I can't really see what this is.
Oh, yeah, that right there was a little bit of synchronized spinning there in the contact, heading down into turn number 4 right at the start of this race. Yeah, SDK tends to do that sometimes. Needs some WD-40 on the replays a couple of times. But, hey, if it works, it works. We try and keep it smooth. I'd like to have a good time here on SMB. And the contact there, it's just the classic lap 1 stack up. With a pack of cars not only this big, but this competitive as well. you tend to expect a little stuff like that. This feels like just a country road that these drivers are driving around.
Yeah, it kind of does. I'd have to agree with that. And then we're going to go replay here. I think this is Kurt Nunez and the 905 of Cathcart. And looks like they just snuck through. That was Bradshaw on the outside. Oh, and then there was contact from behind. 3-car little billiard shot there, trying to get everybody through the corner. Did not work, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame for Nunez to pick up that meatball flag. That will take him out of contention here. But we still have a lot of time left to go here in this race. So for drivers that had a slight setback, it is still not end of the road yet. And for some drivers who haven't had a setback, they're still kind of running a little bit nervous because there's a lot more time for a setback to potentially fall their way. I wonder if it's at all possible if we could load up the replay to see some of the battling that Josh Wilkie found himself involved in. We'll touch on this here. This was a moment for Hugh Simpkins when he was running solidly inside the top 10 in a big lockup heading down into turn number 1 during that inside front tire into a rectangle. Actually, no, that'd probably be more of like a Stromboli shape heading into 1 and 2. So I think there may have been a similar moment go down involving Lucas Clement. He is sinking his way down the running order as we take a look at this here for Paul Jackson. This is in the twisties.
Yeah, Zippy locked up behind and gave him a little shove. Not too bad. Didn't like it damage the car very bad. Just pushed Paul off the track there. It took him a minute to get back on board, back in the racing surface. But I don't think too much damage there. And now we're going to get another replay here. This is Lucas Clement and Dirk Braun. This is heading down into 1. Just a little bit of a half spin there. Manages to catch it, recover it, but that drops him down the order just a little bit.
Yeah, and although turn 1 seems like a just pretty plain Jane corner, there's so much that can throw you off in these spec races towards a braking zone. The entire portion of that track being as bumpy as it is. We'll be able to talk about that a lot throughout this show. In the meantime, though, we've still got some battles and actually a bit of a breakup at the front of the field here. Top 7, so covered by just about nothing. Dirk Braun and Josh Wilkie kind of in a fight of their own as they have to go 3 seconds back to find the other train that's now being led by Andrew Love. Just got that done on Antonio Reese. Oh my God, look at that gaggle of cars as they head their way into turn number 1. I knew it was getting froggy. I didn't expect it to be that froggy, as we also have side-by-side battling here involving Dennis Fury and Jeff Jacobson, 2 drivers that have been on the charge so far. Dennis Fury up 11 spots. The only driver that comes close to him in that regard, the only drivers, I should say, are the likes of Chris Murakami, Jim Brewster, and more, as that was running off the track there. I believe that was Clement yet again.
Yeah, it was in turn 3 and managed to get it rejoined, but again, dropping down the order just a little bit further down to P18. So not having a great start to this race. I think if I'm sitting here looking at Josh Wilkie and Dirk Braun there, they're just off that lead group. I think if I was Josh, I'd probably give Dirk a little bit of a boost down the straightaways where I could. Maybe close that gap before I decided I was going to make a move and pass. Because I don't know that Josh is he's a very good driver, but I don't think he has quite the pace to run down a 7-car pack at the front of the field. So I think I'd be trying to help Dirk out, maybe push both of them forward, get back up to that group, and then do some racing. And that's exactly what Josh is doing. Great job, Josh.
Yeah, Josh put together a very strong drive so far here. I shouldn't have opened my mouth. Side by side here, that's Chris Murakami and Jim Brewster, Weekend Warriors veterans in their own right. I'll lock up there into turn number 1 for Murakami. Gets the move done. Not the smoothest move in the world, but he still was able to make it work even with a quite awkward curb whack heading down into the turn. Also have some side-by-side battling involving Joachim Osbeck and Mark Sherman. It's a black flag already for Houston Simpkins. That is absolutely wild. I gotta feel bad for Guido in the production truck having to be like a chameleon looking at 16 different things at once. That's Meesters and Simpkins following each other off the road. Double lockup. Simpkins gonna loop it around. I thought he was gonna save it, and then he looped it around in the other direction.
Yeah, and I'm going to say if that's, well, I'm looking at the front of his car, obviously some damage there, but if he's already got a black flag for incident points, that's really, really early. We're only 10 minutes into this race. He's going to have to come in, start, contact.
What the hell was that? What the, and Andrew Love firing it off the road, upside down. His car pulled off a bunny hop heading down into the turn. Was that just on my end?
No, I saw it as well. No, that was absolutely crazy. We're going to see it again here, battling on the outside of Chris Murakami. A couple cars diving to the inside there, going to try and make it too wide. And then just a quick little hop there. And I'm kind of wondered at that point, just kind of drove straight off the track into a barrier. If that was frustration, or if that was a hardware issue. Could have been both at this point. Yep, just see it. No, I see the wheel turning. So yeah, just frustrated and not happy with the things that are going on, and decides he's going to ramp it off the edge of the track and then tow it back to the pits. So yeah, already tempers flaring today here at Summit Point.
So for Andrew Love, that's unfortunate way for his race to end. I am not all right. I'm half left. Andrew has now actually exited the pits just now, so I guess that initial bit of contact maybe just completely wrecked his car. He's now gotten his bearing straight once more. I'm probably coming up to about 1,000 broadcasts that I've done over the past 3 years and change. I've seen Formula 4 cars do a front flip running over a curb at Sebring. I have never in my life seen something like that. So, although Andrew Love is now out of this race, and we can't say that it is a good thing that happened, of course, unfortunate moment heading down into that turn, that is probably going to end up as a clip. I nearly burst a blood vessel in my eye laughing so hard. Adam Bradshaw's going off the track as he headed his way off through turn number 1 to get back to the racing before I think about that incident anymore and give myself the giggles. This, I think he may have had some assistance.
No, let's see. And just so far, and just losing it on throwing the throttle down and just losing the rear of the car. So yeah, that was a little bump from Zippy, but that was just a little boost down the straightaway. Had it in hand and just lost the rear, getting back on the throttles. Now Josh Wilkie's made his way around Dirk Braun. That's going to give him P8 overall and the Spec 2 lead. So running pretty well. They are still losing time to that front group, as you would expect here with the front 7 there. Now 2.4 ahead of Wilkie and Braun. 3.2 back to Saul Al-Shutwi, along with Antonio Reese, Mickey Onio there running in 11th and leading the Masters class. Ooh, more contact
that's not
there.
gonna work.
Oh, that's I think Adam Bradshaw Jr. and Mark Sherman there in the 492. So yeah, a little contact going down. That entry into turn 1. Inside line, just for whatever reason, it just feels like you can never get that car slowed up enough. Oh, there's a battle here between Meesters and Murakami there at the back of this group. As Meesters looks like he is on a mission to get back through this, but he's got to be patient. This is not the place that you're going to try and make moves here through 6, 7, and 8. You're going to want to try and get that speed built up coming out of 9. Make it through the final corner and get your run down the front straight. But Meesters looks like he is in a hurry.
Yeah, and trying to get a move done as well. Heading into the final turn, contact, a small little touch heading into the final braking zone between Murakami and Meesters. One thing that you could say about Rich Meesters is that despite being a Masters driver, you think that usually the Masters drivers are the ones that are the more calm, collected. They always try and just let the race fall into their lap. He's always the one that's a bit more punchy out of that group of drivers. And Chris Murakami, kind of the opposite of that. He's very laid back and mellow in the way that he goes about these races, which it is a low cortisol versus high cortisol approach, I feel. Both of them very fast and very successful in their own right, but certainly different approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Talked with Chris a lot, and he is a very, very cool, calm customer. And Meesters, as he said, Meesters looks like he's racy, and I think he's actually cost himself a little bit of time doing the battle there with Murakami. Is they're side by side going down into 5. As you just see, Murakami's going to have the inside line, going to be able to get back around, but they're losing the gap to the cars in front. That was a 5-car pack. Now it's those two together, and then the other 3 are just kind of scooting away. So he needs to get this figured out Either he needs to stay in line and help Murakami and give him a little bit of a push, or he needs to just go ahead and get the move done and try and soldier on and get out of the way. But I don't think the run going down into the final corner is the place to make the move. I think it's right here. I think this is where he needs to make this move, make it stick, and get on down the road.
But you can see these two really getting physical in their own little fight, and Rich Meester is pushing the hell out of Murakami, heading down into turn number 1. Thought that was nearly going to end in Murakami getting spun, and some pit stops further behind, and 3 wide racing directly behind them. That's Ozbek, Jacobson, and Thorpe into turn number 1, as we're hearing some more drama going on. Yeah, that's Murakami. He lost it heading down to turn number 1, and with how close those two were battling between Murakami and Meesters, I have a feeling that that little bit of contact, you could see how hard the pushing was going on there. These Spec Racer Fords, really easy to get a bump draft done well, but very easy for it to end in catastrophe. I was wondering whether it was contact, but that's just overcooked it a little bit heading into turn number 1.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that might be a diff lock situation there. Maybe shifted down into first, going into the entry of the 1, and it just was carrying too much speed, and the rear came around. But obviously, the first thoughts were they were fighting so hard that there might have been contact, but no, it was all clean. It was just a mistake by Murakami. We're going to get a look here. Adam Bradshaw Jr. coming through 6 and 7. I'm sorry, that's through 9, and he's just going to pull off to the side, and I think that is parking it. Yep, I think he's done. And here comes Murakami in for his pit stop.
Yeah, they're joined in the pits in that time by Dirk Braun and Chris Thorpe. So pit stops continuing on here in this race. I always talk about how some of these draft-heavy races are the ones where you're going to see everybody a little bit more divergent. It also helps that the race track is so short that, you'd think that, oh yeah, if you just do it differently based off a draft-heavy track, everybody would be pitting on various different laps at the Nordschleife, but you only run 5 laps there. You can't really do that. You can do that, but you can also run out of fuel heading off the food plots and completely end your race. Here, though, because the laps are just a tad over a minute and some change, you can make really odd strategy calls work. See, Stevie's not here today, because that's usually our yardstick of when the pit window is fully open and when these drivers can go for some alternate strats. But we are seeing many a racer break away their own little battle. Josh Wilkie coming into the pits, so this is either a good strategy call from him or his fuel numbers are going to be just setting him off into hell.
Yeah, we never know with Josh, but he has made the stop just before the halfway mark of the race, 18 minutes 30 seconds of a 40-minute affair, as Meester's now with a black flag. So there's our second one of our group here getting a black flag, and I'm assuming once again for incident points. Did not see a yellow up there where he maybe missed a slowdown or what happened. And I don't think he's been in the pitch yet. He has not. So yeah, black flag for incident points for Meester. That's going to be a drive-through penalty he'll have to serve.
That's a second black flag that we have seen be divvied out to a driver for incident point violations. Now, to anyone tuning into the series for the first time or just need a little refresher, 13x is the limit until these drivers pick up a black flag. And then from there, it's not a matter of, oh yeah, every so-and-so incident you pick up more penalties. No, it is 13x as your warning, and then 18x when you get disqualified and sent off to the principal's office. So there is really no wiggle room. And to pick up incident point violations right now, that is pretty much, the meme of the Grim Reaper knocking on people's doors and a blood trail left behind him. The iRacing incident point system is doing that to these drivers here today.
Yeah, and that means that for the last half of this race, he's got to turn that aggression level down, because it only is going to take 1.4x at an off track, and that is race done for Rich. And he does not obviously want to get a DQ in this race. There are points online. Even if he doesn't win the class, there are still points that he's going to want to collect here. And if he gets disqualified, I don't think that's going to happen. So he needs to be up there, and he needs to be in here for the full 40 minutes. So he's got to be very, very careful. Get a replay here of Steve Saunders here, and this is the rundown into turn 1. So let's see what we got going on here. Right behind Jim Brewster takes it in deep, and once again, I think very much the same thing there, kind of reminiscent of what we saw earlier with Murakami. Maybe that was more of a just too hard on the brakes, sliding himself down into one, locking everything up, but able to recover it and continue on with no contact.
Yeah, and bouncing back at the moment. As all of this has been going on farther behind, your lead pack, I wouldn't say they're fully tame, as they're currently side by side for your top spot between Maurizio Nazelli and Nathaniel Schramm, but it has been somewhat peaceful for these drivers as anarchy has gone down behind, and now Marco Panero smelling a bit of blood in the water, trying to get a move done here on Nathaniel Schramm. Now we think back to the last race of this season at Mugello, that wonderful four-wide finish that we had behind, but the battle for the win was pretty wild in its own right and really ended before it got started with an incident heading down to turn number 1. Maurizio Nazelli was involved in that. Nazelli, a Weekend Warriors veteran, a driver who has done well in all types of machinery here in the Weekend Warriors world. I can't remember him driving in the Formula Vs, but certainly driven in these spec race Fords. He's driving one right now and leading this race in one right now. He's even done well in the Formula Fords. He is a quick driver all around, and I think after that race last week, although these incidents usually get ironed out with these drivers and it all ends on good terms, there's always a little thought in the back of a racer's mind to think, okay, let me try and do something a little bit good here in this race to try and get the win, do something a little bit different, like a pit stop now, breaking away from the race lead is Nazelli.
Yeah, getting out and into the pits, going to take it on his own there, as we're going to get a replay here, and this is Rich Meesters coming down. I think this is down into 5, going down into turn 5 here, and just a little hop there, and you saw the rears lock up, and around he goes. He's going to get passed by Jason Green and Hugh Simpkins. That little group we had behind involved with Dirk Braun and Josh Wilkie that we had behind the lead pack. Both drivers come in. Most of the pit stops have been between 13.5 and 16.5 seconds. Dirk Braun 12 flat, and Josh Wilkie 19.2. So one of those two are probably wrong. So I'm not going to say which one, and it could be both. 12 second flat is a very, very quick stop. It's the fastest stop we've had so far. So we could have a Thompson Trophy candidate, and we may have a Wilkie Trophy here coming up pretty soon as the guy who took too much fuel on his pit stop that was necessary. So we may have to come up with something there. Maybe Josh won't fire me for that.
Oh, as Jake Williams, very aggressive there on pit entry, was worried that he may pick up a speeding penalty, but that's himself, Panero, and Aleix Pleva coming into the pits. You know, you're worried about cracking a joke. I'll make one, and this may get me fired. I think that sort of pit stop there from Josh is the reason why his wonderful wife is the other one that handles the accounts here at SMB. Otherwise, if he was handling the pay, I probably would have gone paid $65 million last month alone. 3 pit stops, though. 3 more drivers left in that top pack to come down pit lane, and Nathaniel Schramm holding on to a 7/10 of a second lead. Scott Russell and Jason Green directly behind him, P2 and P3. Now, in the second half of this season here, Charles, I do want to ask you about Jason Green. We know him to be a very consistent, very fast, and a very smart driver at that. He rarely, if ever, puts himself in a bad situation. Doesn't matter whether it's here in these SRFs or even in the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 series here on SMB as well. He's a driver that will always stay rather level-headed, but in the heat of a championship battle with a big margin between himself and your points leader of Nathaniel Schramm, he's going to look to try and make some bigger swings as we get into the second half here.
I mean, he's going to race, but as we see him coming down to the pits now, so he's going to jump in with Schramm. They're going to leave Scott Russell out by himself, both coming down to the pits. Jason is, he's a number cruncher, and so he's always looking at that fuel numbers. He does not really race the first half of the race. He normally keeps that involved for that second half. So if he gets his fuel number right, you'll see him trying to work his way up as we got the Cookie Monster car, the 492 there, moved off into the gravel there, going into turn 1. So this will be the point that Jason starts trying to work his way forward. If he's got any kind of pace in the car, this will be when he's doing it. As you can see, these cars getting lapped. Or no, this is Naselli and Panero coming around. They've already made their stop, Pleva as well. So Jason right in there. as we still have a few cars yet to pit. So he's going to be right in the mix here, running in, I guess, virtual P3 as the pit stop cycle is continuing.
Yeah, so we're hearing from Guido. Always good on a producer to let us know about the storylines that are going on right under our nose. Pit stop time from Jake Williams, 10.02 seconds. Now we have about 15 minutes left to go here in this race. A 10-second fuel stop. If this race were 30 minutes long, I think he'd be, I think he'd have a good shot to get a good result. It's 40 minutes though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, so reset there. Green is in the virtual P4 because Jake Williams obviously much quicker stop than everybody else. Makes me feel a little better about Dirk Braun, but less so about Jake Williams' stop. 9.92 is probably okay if you're in a pack, but he's leading that pack and he's up by 2 seconds. So as he's got a pretty significant gap to the cars behind. With some lap traffic in there as well. So I think that's Paul Jackson in between him and Naselli. So yeah, that's a very, very quick stop, and it makes me curious about whether or not he's going to be able to make it to the end based on his fuel number. He's going to have to do either some very good saving while trying to lead. He does have a gap he can give up, but once again, I don't know if that's going to be enough, unfortunately, for him.
Yeah, no, 10 seconds in a pit stop. As I said, if this race were 10 minutes shorter, I think he'd be running more than comfortably enough to get to the end. But again, it's 10 minutes longer than 30 minutes. Do the math there, 40 minutes long. So we shall see. You can never rule out a miracle, but sometimes you can rule out a miracle. 4 of the top 5 have just come into the pits. I want to touch on this. Lucas Clement, Sula Shutway, Antonio Reese, and Steve Saunders. Scott Russell has remained out there on the racetrack. Now, I'm not sure whether that number 22 car is currently being powered by either A, fumes, B, the Lord's Prayer, C, pixie dust, or D, a combination of all three, but he's still staying out there, so props are certainly due.
Yeah, he's running the fuel out, and I think that, as you talked about with these short laps, you can go a little bit longer because you can kind of make a little better adjustments as you go. So he's going to get out there. If he stays out and runs all the fuel out, probably the 33 minute mark before he comes in. So he's got to just keep going, just keep his pace up. Run his lap times as best he can, but he's about a second slower than that group involved in Marco Pinero, Naselli, and Green are running about a full second faster than Scott as he's coming into the pits now. So he's going to say, "Let's make this stop, get it done, and we'll see where he comes out."
Unfortunately for Scott Russell, I think the pixie dust ran out, but Jake Williams going to assume the race lead for now. I think he had a good opportunity to do some fuel saving in the opening stages, and we didn't really see him be too punchy, but that is still going to be a real tough road ahead. Scott Russell actually exits out in a very good spot. I don't believe he'll remain in the top 5. I think Aleix Pleva will chew him up and spit him out as he gets abducted by a UFO. There he is back out there on the racetrack. But Scott Russell still, it works out pretty all right for him in that pit cycle. I was thinking right after I gave the multi-choice question there to figure out exactly what that car was being fueled with. He did have a very good position in that opening stint of this race, being able to do a ton of fuel saving behind. It is a draft-heavy racetrack, so that can make it work. Jake Williams now dipping down. He's got to slot his way up into third. Naselli jumps his way up into the race lead. Pinero now in second. Williams back down to third. Will we see him come down pit lane here soon? Maybe say, okay, let's not do a pit stop in the last moment. Let's just get it done so I have a little bit more time to try and make it all up.
Yep, Zippy with the black flag in P23, so our third black flag of the race, and that's going to help. Jake Williams falling back is going to help out Jason Green and Pleva and Russell. Well, maybe not Russell, but Pleva and Green is going to allow them to kind of jump that gap that Naselli and Pinero had. to get the draft back to them. That should bring all those 5 cars together, and which is going to make life very interesting here at the front of the field for the final few laps of the race. So it looks like Green is going to be able to close that down, just bringing Pleva with them. And we'll see once they start fighting, this pack will just really tighten up. They'll be all on top of each other. You'll probably see Scott Russell be able to close it down. I don't think Schramm is going to be able to get back up there unless something really bizarre happens, which we've seen before. So it's not necessarily outside the realm of possibility. So he's got a 3-second gap up to Russell, and let's see if he is closing the gap down, so he is running leader's pace. So he's at least not losing time, I don't think, to the group in front.
As we saw the pit stop time graphic up there, we could play a nice little game of which stands out more. Jake Williams, 9.9 second pits, as our graphic calls it, a little bit closer to 10, but our graphics just rounding down by about a tenth of a second, or Josh's 19-second stop. They're full 10 seconds spread between your slowest and fastest pit stop there. Which stands out like a sore thumb, which stands out like a gangrenous toe with a rusty nail sticking out of it? That will be left to you, the viewer, to decide. As we get into the final 8 minutes of this race, Maurizio Nazelli is your leader, as there's smoke being kicked up in the air from these drivers heading their way onto the start-finish straightaway. Going to be side-by-side battling behind between Pleva and Jason Green. JG2 still holding on to 5th, Pleva into 4th. If these drivers can play their cards right, they will get involved in this fight. 9/10 of a second, though, so this is critical moments for them.
Yeah, I think maybe Jason realized that Pleva was a little bit quicker at this phase of the race and just let him go. He just moved over to the inside and just let Pleva go on by. So now they've got a 1-second gap up to the top 3, and Pleva is actually closing it. So they are bringing that gap down. So I think that was a very smart call. And once again, Jason is crunching the numbers as he's racing and deciding that it's going to be better for him to be behind Pleva, at least for the time being. Got a battle here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we jump a little bit farther behind with Dennis Furia, Zippy, and Phil Barry. Of course, Zippy with that black flag, so you have to pull it into pit lane here whenever I see that Mustang paint scheme of Zippy. Always feel the opportunity to make the joke about Mustang drivers hitting second gear and having it end in catastrophe. You know, one of those clips, one of the most famous clips of that actually happened like a mile away from my house. Not even kidding. Side-by-side battling here, Panero and Nazelli heading off into turn number 1. Also helps I'm a GM guy. I like to bring that up as many times as I can. Panero in your race lead right now. Nazelli in second. And Jake Williams, he hasn't yielded fully yet. Maybe he realized that leading the race was not the good spot for him to be in, especially with the fuel. I still struggle to believe that he'll be able to make it to the end, even if he clutches at straws. But yeah, I've seen stranger things. I don't even have a Netflix subscription. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you're absolutely right there. That's a nice pun, by the way. So yeah, I think he realized that he's not going to make it running up front. He's going to have to do some fuel saving from behind. And you see the gap starting to close a little more between Jake and Alish, as they're still closing that gap down. So Jake's going to have to do, as you said, quite a bit of fuel saving here just to get to the end of the race, and we'll see. We'll know real quick whether he thinks he's going to make it or not if we see him dart into the pits there for a quick splash to just try and preserve as many points as he can get here in this race, because obviously running out of fuel is not the optimum strategy, as we see Naselli moving to the inside, back out to the outside, still running there in P1 in front of Panero, Williams, and now Pleva and Green are on board as well.
Yeah, so it's starting to turn into a party at the front of this field, and happy hour starting very, very soon. Now, 5 minutes and 10 seconds away from the checkered flag calling out and the time running out here. Nazelli, Panero, two very venerated drivers in these cars. Jake Williams, who is a very strong racer in these Spec Racer Fords, I believe past champion as well in the Formula Ford side of things as well here in the Weekend Warriors, reigning champion, I believe, of the FFs. They're super quick driver in his own right. Same could be said about Pleva and Green. I think Williams is the only driver that kind of sticks out amongst this pack in terms of experience in these SRFs, but still a very quick driver. We've seen him contend for wins already this season, so we'll have to see what he can do. Look at some battling a little bit farther behind. This is Adam Bradshaw Jr. and Diego Todeschini. That's the fight for 25th at the moment, and Bradshaw Jr. going to get that spot. The Spec 2 driver moves his way up into 25th place. Speaking of your Spec 2 class right now, Josh Wilkie, despite that little goof, shall we say, on the pits. I don't know why I said that with a slight New York accent. Even with that slight little goof up on pit lane, he is still your Spec 2 leader comfortably over the rest of the Spec 2 pack. Knowing my luck, he's probably going to pick up some sort of incident point violation. The falling anvils will come crashing down, and I will get a strongly worded message once we are done with this show.
Yeah, maybe so. As we'll see what happens. Antonio Reese also currently leading Masters, running 9th overall. Kind of in a little bit of a bubble by himself there, a couple seconds behind Sol Shutwee running in 8th, and about 3 seconds ahead of Dirk Braun running in 10th. And so pretty much got that in hand. He's got a pretty nice gap back to Jim Brewster running in 13th. But Josh not out of the woods yet, as Lucas Clement is running right behind him, about 2.5 seconds back. Agreed.
That was Guido in the production truck. Have a shot of espresso, Guido. Come on, we're gonna have a fun end to this race, I'm sure. Looking at the battling here, this is that little pack involving Bradshaw Jr., Diego Todeschini, and Daniel Salmon now involved in it as well. So Zippy, after serving that black flag, right now contending for a good spot. I will say, of those drivers that picked up incident point black flags, they haven't been disqualified yet. We still have 3 minutes. I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. Side by side here, this is Scott Russell, Nathaniel Schramm. Fight for 6th and 7th on the road right now. Will Schramm try to fight back? He will fight back into turn number 3. Those two chasing each other's tails a bit in that small little crackle down flat-out run.
Yeah, they are. There's like a little bit of contact there. It's all kind of Schramm's car. Oh, we got an incident up. Obviously, we got to see there with Zippy Salmon. This is that group we were looking at earlier, and just a quick lock-up, narrow miss by Zippy there. It allowed Bradshaw and Todeschini to continue on. It's going to drop him down. I thought I saw movement up here in the front group as we were looking at Russell and Schramm, but maybe not. Maybe it was maybe somebody blinked and just kind of messed up our timing and scoring there for a moment. As still got the same group up, but we're going to be 2 to go here at the line.
2 laps left of Summit Point, about 4 miles to decide it all, and Nazelli is still your leader, but Marco Panero, I think, is starting to plot and scheme behind, as Williams going to briefly stick a 3 wide. He doesn't get that spot. Panero checks up, contact made, ran of bumper cars through 1 and 2, and that's going to allow Nazelli to fly out into the distance. Aleix Pleva now going to look to blow all 3 of those drivers' doors off. Gotta wonder what the damage is on the front of that number 59 car of Jake Williams. There you can see it already pushed in a bit. That was huge contact heading down into turn number 1. I had a feeling that it was maybe going to go down with how fanned out those drivers were. As it turns out, that's exactly what goes down. There you can see the front of Williams. I think we'll be able to get a better shot as they head their way through turn number 6 and 7. Look at the front of that car compared to everybody else. It just looks like the car was molded from clay and then got dropped directly on the ground. So that could be music to the ears of Martin Nazelli, who lost out on a shot to win last time out here in this series because of an incident hanging into turn number 1. Now it looks like he may be able to be the beneficiary of it, but we still have 1 more lap. Still have Panero and Williams. At this point, if you're Jake Williams, you cannot win this race. Just try and do what you can to help Panero potentially. There you can see him bump drafting. Oh, actually, no, Williams pulling out there. That's not a smart call. That's just going to tie anchors around both of their ankles. As you can see, Nazelli leading comfortably into turn number 1. Smoke in the air, more smoke in the air as Panero locks up, sends Williams off the track. Pleva and Green gonna send it in and get the spots. Dirk Braun just filed into the pits for a last lap pit stop Thompson Trophy candidate right there. Look at the lead that Nazelli has heading into turn number 3 for the final time. That right there between Panero and Williams, not really saying that they shot themselves in the foot, but certainly didn't help out matters at all. Panero will need a historic fight back heading into turn number 5 for the final time here in this race. Really feeling more pressure from Pleva than he is applying to Nazelli. Nazelli half a second clear through 6 and 7 for the final time. Gotta think that the battle will be for that final podium spot, as Jake Williams is directly behind Jason Green, who's right behind Aleix Pleva. Marco Panera kind of a no man's land between Pleva and third, and Nazelli, your race leader, maybe the mediator of that, but it's a long run into turn number 1, just not enough, I think, for the battle to flare up once more as they head their way around that final turn onto the start finish straightaway. Nazelli gonna see that checkered flag in the air, and he'll win this race for round number 7 of the Spec Racer Fords. Nazelli captures the trophy here in Summit Point. Panero ends up in second. Aleix Pleva won out in that fight for third. That did not really materialize. Antonio Reese about to come across the stripe to win it in the Masters category, as Josh Wilkie, maintaining speed, not getting caught up in any sort of falling anvil hurricanes. He will round out your top 10, winning in Spec 2. But what a fight right at the end there for the lead. A fight that maybe would have been even more interesting had Jake Williams and Marco Panero not break out to civil war.
I think you're absolutely right. I think, just kind of judging the last couple of laps there, that I think maybe a little too soon. I probably would have waited, but he thought he could get a run down into one and get a move done, and that just didn't happen. You saw the contact between Williams and Panero. And that just gave Naselli all the gap he needed. They were able to close it back down over a half second over those final lap, but just not enough. And Jake made the right call by giving up the lead a little bit earlier to save his fuel, because he was able to get to the finish. Dirk Braun was the second quickest pit stop time, and was not able to get to it because he was running by himself. So not able to get to the finish, had to come back down for a splash. I think we saw also Hugh Simpkins get a black flag on the last lap. I think he decided that was enough for him and parked it. So great race today. Not quite the battle that we expected there at the end, but still, once again, 5 cars within, a second of each other there at the end, made for some really great racing, and that was a good battle for the entire 40 minutes.
Yeah, that was a fun one, as we can now see the conga line beginning to form. Drivers still looking to partake of the post-race shenanigans. I'm not sure how this will work with 2 cars linked together with a jump.
I'm wondering if Jason maybe hit his fuel number a little too well, and is
yeah.
Oh no, he's got it going. Okay.
Alrighty, and now we go heading into the jump. Oh, there's a fantastic camera angle of this. This camera is about to get killed. Oh, and there you can see everybody ballparking it or lawn darting it. Here comes boss man Wilkie. The hero's running out of gas there. Who is that helicoptering it behind? I think that may have been Spec. Oh no, I still think the best is yet to come. What kind of yonky spelunky maneuver was that from Phil Berry?
Wow.
That's a first.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm surprised that tree survived. I mean, there were 2 or 3 cars that went straight through it. So.
Oh no.
Brad Cathcart. Well, he made it. And that's what, he got to the end and was able to make the jump, although it kind of looks like maybe he coasted there to get there, but still successfully made that. Great race. Love to see them just kind of let things go there at the end, as they usually do. And so we got some race results there, Ron.
Yes, we do, Charles. Oh no, I don't know why I had to respond.
Yeah, I don't either.
But let's take a look at our race results here. Vincent Nazelli grabs the victory over Marco Panero, 4/10 of a second at the line. Just 4 more tenths between Panero and Pleva, completing your top 3. Jason Green will end up in 4th in front of Jake Williams in the 59 machine. Nathaniel Tram ends up in 6th. Still a good result for your championship points. He looks to try and preserve that gap in the second half of the season. Scott Russell will finish this race in 7th, with Antonio Reese winning in the Masters category. Sula Shutway, who we didn't really talk about too much here in this race, ends up in 9th, with Joshua Wilkie completing our top 10.
Yeah, Lucas Clement, P2 in Spec 2 finishing in 11th. Jim Brewster, P2 in the Masters class finishing in 12th. Joaquin Osbeck getting the final step on the Spec 2 podium in 13th. Steve Saunders finishing 14th. Eric Braun finishes in 15th. Daniel Case in 16th. Chris Thorpe gets the final step on the Masters podium finishing in 17th. Jeff Jacobson in 18th. Chris Murakami in 19th. Rich Meesters finishes in 20th. Philip Berry 21st. Dennis Furia 22nd. Adam Bradshaw Jr. 23rd. Diego Todeschini finishes in 24th. Michele Vellini finishing in 25th. Zippy Salmon finishes in 26th. Brad Cathcart 27th. Paul Jackson 28th. 29th is Hugh Simpkins. Mark Sherman finishing in 30th. Adam Bradshaw in 31st. Kurt Nunez finishing in 32nd. And Andrew Love with the early departure finishing in 33rd, and that's the final car of our classification.
And so there it is, your results at the end of round number 7 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Summit Points. We'll be able to have a chat with some of these drivers in a couple of moments' time. Once again, would like to thank Bobby West for sponsoring this broadcast of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. I'd like to let you all know that if you're interested in sponsoring the remaining broadcasts, either in the Formula Ford or Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, you can get in contact with Stevie Ray by joining the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server, reaching out, and you'll be able to put your name or company on this amazing racing action that we have week in and week out in the Weekend Warriors world. But Charles, I think I'll pass the mic off to you to get the interviews up and rolling and ask who you would like to have a chat with first.
Well, let's talk with Mr. Antonio Reese, fan favorite here in the booth, our Masters class winner today. So let's bring him down and have a conversation. Antonio, congratulations on the class victory today. Pretty uneventful race for you. Don't think that you were really up challenging for an overall win today. There's some really fast drivers out there.
Hey, Charles, good night. Are you okay?
Yeah, everything's good. How are you?
Also as well, thank you. Was a very kind of a happy race, I would say. It was very good, lucky. Also, didn't get involved with anything crazy. And well, I don't know how I finished, but I finished. It was a really difficult one. It's always difficult, that track. It's not so easy.
P8 overall, and there you go. P8 overall and the Masters class victory. So good run.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it feels good. Thanks for the guys for not killing me on the track. So yeah.
Yeah, we always talk about this track. It's so narrow, very, very tight cornering, and the cars are really up on their pace. You don't have a lot of places that you have to do a lot of heavy braking, so just a really challenging track, and it just seems like it's always a lot of car contact here, and we saw it as well today. But once again, you came out unscathed, did not have any issues. Obviously, you weren't really up battling for an overall win, which is what we normally expect out of you, Antonio. But still, otherwise, a really good race, though.
Yeah, it was a really good one. I have a lot of fun with the guys. I have 2 accidents, actually. One with, Rich, and another one with, I don't know, I have to see the replay still. But, well, other than that, everything was clean. It was a little touchy, not a very, very big kind of a hit. But
there we go.
Well, so I have 9 incidents at the end of the race, so not so clean.
not so clean. Yeah, it's kind of what you expect here. So I was going to ask you about next week's race, but again, I don't know where the next week's race is because I don't pay.
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis road course. Oh wow.
Oh,
okay.
I think
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty iconic track, and it's I think that's going to probably suit these cars pretty well.
Yeah, I suppose, yes. Agree.
All right, Antonio, well, we'll let you go and celebrate, but first we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs before we get you out of here.
Yeah, guys. Thanks to you guys on the broadcast and for the sponsor, I think was Simon, and as well for the Steve Ray and all the community members, and as well for the guys watching. And yeah, thank you to all of them from my appreciation.
There you go. Thank you very much, Antonio, for stopping in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you too. Yeah, see you next week. Take care, guys. Have a good one.
And that right there was Antonio Reese, our Masters winner and P8 finisher. Hey, I'm opponent, I don't know. Let's have a quick little chat with the boss man himself, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who, despite a painfully slow 19-second stop... Hey, Mr. Wilkie, hello. Don't want to reveal your secrets on the air. We want to keep that competitive edge. Well done on the Spec 2 win. I was saying that even with that painfully slow 19-second stop, you're still able to get the Class W and P10 overall. So how was it out there?
Yeah, it was great. Honestly, this place is a knife fight. The opening minutes of the race there are just, you really have to get your shoulders out. You really have to take lines and deny lines that people are trying to take. I think I really fought hard with Sol there for a little bit, and he tried to do a line up the inside. And I think probably would have killed both of us if I wouldn't have leaned on him the way that I did. But it ended up being one of the cooler moments I've ever had, I think, racing. So, this place just provides really good racing. It's difficult to get positions and stay in them around here. The button on my steering wheel didn't work to stop my fuel, so I just max fueled pretty much. I thought, well, there goes my race. It looks like I did just enough work maybe in the opening time there to hold off Houston. And really fast there, because it was Luke today as well, really keeping me honest at the end. That was 15 minutes of me trying to do qualifying laps to stay in front of him. So really fun race at the end of the day, man. That was a blast. I'm glad I got the win. I'm glad I can maybe extend a little bit in the championship there, used as a fast driver. So yeah, really cool, man.
Yeah, certainly looked like a fun time. And, Josh, we've covered enough Formula V races at this track to know how wild things can get. I think Guido could probably sum it up from the production truck with one obscenity that we cannot say on the air. But this place is always so wild when you put some drafty cars here. So I want to ask you about the mental side of things, just being able to stay with it in what feels like a 40-minute long game of leapfrog.
Yeah, genuinely, this place is a bit of a mind bender. You don't really have a whole lot of time to take a break. And the back end of the course, probably right after my pit stop, the tires on the SRF were just on fire. And it took me probably 6 laps to get them back. And I was just almost spinning in every corner and almost locking my fronts and, through that back section. So yeah, 40 minutes around here with a pit stop is definitely mentally draining a little bit. I'm still clearly not the master of my pit stops. Just having a discussion with Jim Brewster there, doesn't really like the pit stops. I'm kind of up in the air about it. I'm not sure they make racing better, but I think it does add a layer of immersion that I enjoy. So maybe that's worth it. But in any case, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's not easy. 40 minutes around here is not an easy one, and you really do have to be prepared for it. If you're not, and you just try to fight everybody and pick battles everywhere, and you're just going to go backwards. And that's SRF in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a very tough nut to crack to invoke a little bit of 1920s radio diction. But Josh, next time out, we're going to be running at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. We just got to see a banger a couple of weeks ago there together on the broadcast for the Formula Vs. So I think the Spec Racer Fords will probably be no different. What are your thoughts on there?
Yeah, that place always seems to race really, really well. Again, it's one of those deceivingly sort of difficult tracks that everybody's sort of meh about. But then when you get there, it seems to provide really good racing. And I think it's one of those tracks, again, where the elements of the track itself really aren't super difficult. So it ends up providing really good racing. Everybody's side by side, and everybody kind of has the track under them by the time the race goes. So you end up with really close pack racing. And then it just comes down to, decision making. You kind of have to wait till the end and then make a jump. And again, if you get caught up in silly fights and stuff, then you just end up going backwards, especially around a track like that. I think you really need to go with the flow and find the feng shui, so to speak.
Yeah, last big word I learned like that was mayonnaise, I'll be completely honest. But Josh, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs before we let you go and celebrate this Spec 2 win.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody out there, the competitors, really honestly. It's a bit of a knife fight out there. We all get our shoulders out a little bit sometimes, and you can tend to play a little bit of silly bugger here and there with people and stuff. So everybody's just got such a good demeanor around here. You can talk it out, and that kind of stuff in the debrief. And it's just awesome. Racing with these guys and girls out there is just a blast. Having the extra layer of slow motion broadcasting covering it just makes it, this is awesome to be able to go back and watch it. So massive thanks to the competitors out there. Huge thanks to you guys and the admin, Stevie. We never thank Jason Green enough. Jason Green does a lot of work in the background as well, helping out with SRF and with other things as well as doing faux speed that everybody should be a part of. You're going to find your racecraft there every week, and he's been doing that for a long time. So big props to him, and Jim Brewster, Michelle Lynn, everybody who makes this stuff possible, man. Just giant thanks to everyone. I have a blast. Everybody has a blast. Thanks.
Yeah, and certainly some true words being spoken there, Josh. But thank you for joining us in the booth, and us as broadcasters will be able to see you in the very near future, but the viewers will be able to see you out there on the racetrack next time out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much. And that right there was the boss man himself, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, joining us. And Charles, I'll give you the opportunity to have a chat with driver that we always like to bring into the broadcast booth, a man who's a very good interview to have because he knows his stuff and knows a heck of a lot about the race that he was just a part of, that being Formula V admin and a pretty all right finisher here in this race. I'm going to scramble, trying to figure out exactly what position
P2 is the class.
Oh, P2 in the class. How about that? We didn't even talk about that too much. How about that? But Jim Brewster, P2 finisher in Masters and P12 finisher overall. I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with him.
Yeah, let's bring Jim in here. We'll have a chat with him. Jim, welcome in. And obviously, first, we have to say hello to Tam. If you're racing, that means Tam's probably out there in the YouTube chat, mixing it up with the Schrammers today. But congratulations on the Masters class second place and P12 overall.
Hey, what do you think of that home track confidence? What do you think of that?
Absolutely. So, yeah, as we saw, we were keeping an eye on you out there. Just really, you were in a battle pretty much for the entire race, kind of running in that 10 to 15 range and had some pretty quick drivers around you. And it was it's almost like, Ron calls it a knife fight. I call it a fist fight in a phone booth. And just kind of the way that feels is you're gonna get punched and elbowed and everything like that. And this seems like that's what happens when we come here to Summit Point.
No, because we're used to doing V's, doing 3 wide and 2 wide everywhere. So this 1 wide and 2 wide is is easy. And the whole thing is you just got to be polite and not be forcing it to go 2 wide through 2 and 3 and 5 and stuff like that. And unfortunately, some people understand that, and some people don't. No, I had somebody, the guy that I followed, Lucas, there, where I followed most of the race, following his draft, because I didn't trust him behind me. He had rear-ended me and given me my only 4X. I would have had 0X if it wasn't for that. So, wow. So then I sat behind him for the whole middle laps, and then he got away after the pit stop. So I think it behooved me to just sit behind him and enjoy his draft for the whole middle race. So I call it a smart race. I mean, yesterday was a smart race, a survival, and today was a smart race of gaining places. But Summit is always so fun. I hope Tam enjoyed the show. I hope it was a good show for everybody. I heard the leaders kept changing places. They kept saying a different number was up front. So I'm sure he had some good fun up front. But anyway, good to hear your ruby-throated Alabama twang there again, sir. Not a twang, a southern accent.
Drawl. It's a drawl.
A drawl. Okay, there you go. Anyway,
which I constantly fight, but yeah, I do appreciate the compliment. Though.
Anyway, thanks for everything you guys do. You know how much we love after the race to run downstairs and pull it up on the big screen.
Yeah. So next week, Indy Road Course. I think the V's were there a few weeks ago, so something you've at least got some laps in here recently. So we're going to see you here in the SRFs as well.
Maybe we'll have to see. We'll have to see with the busy schedule. I try to be a family person and try to be nice on Sundays a little bit if I can. I'm really hoping we get some more sponsorship for the Fords and get the Fords back up here because I really love driving the Ford, and it's a great series, and I hope it doesn't dwindle here. So I hope we can get some progress there, and I hope the Surfs can work on their sponsorship deal a little bit like Michelle helps us out with the V's. So hopefully we can get all these leagues back up to full strength and full broadcast capability. And since we love hanging out with you guys so much.
Absolutely. We enjoy it as well. I mean, what better way to spend a Saturday or Sunday afternoon is sitting here watching some really good racing. Even if it's digital race cars, it's still really good racing. We've got some fantastic drivers. I've always talked about how good the community is here, and it's just fun racing.
It's fiscally responsible racing. I don't know how anybody pays for race cars in Rio. The money that even spent for a track day or an SCCA regional is so crazy. I don't understand how anybody does it. But I don't know if you heard, but our hero Morgan Burkhardt kicked some butt yesterday and got a second place. In his F4, and rumor has it that it might have been his genius gas saving, again doing a bunch of damage. I don't know if you remember in the TCR, he used to gain like 10 or 15 spots every pit stop, and rumor has it they're at Laguna Seca, and Andrew had watched the race, and he said he gained a whole bunch of spots in the pits again and got a second overall. So, one of our own is making it up. That's and just moving up through the world. Hey, see you guys next week.
All right,
thanks for everything.
Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
And that was Big Jimbo there. Yeah, absolutely. Always enjoy talking to him. Got to talk to him yesterday and today as well. So that's a bonus for me. And always get to say hello to Tam. So don't forget to say hello to Tam, Rod.
Yeah, hi, Tam. I didn't see her in the YouTube chat today, but she'll probably tune in a little bit later on here in the evening or potentially tomorrow. But Charles, that was a fun one here at Summit Point. It was interesting to end off the interviews off on the point talking about Morgan Burkhardt, who really first started cutting his teeth in cars around this place, pretty much his hometown track. But Summit, we always expect some fun when you put some draft-heavy cars around here, and we certainly did have a lot of fun between some odd physics-breaking moments, not even just with the jumps. That little bunny hop from Andrew Love that is still just playing rent-free in my head, and even some of the fantastic racing action. That was a really fun way to spend a Sunday.
Yeah, it is, and it's we talk about how tight the racing is, and you see the collisions and the contact and the spins and stuff like that. But it's there are not many places better than this car track combination, the surfs here at Summit Point. And but looking forward to next week. I think Indy Road Course is a little bit different animal, and it takes one of those tracks that it takes a lot of time to really get the lines down. There's plenty of places you can take opportunities with track limits that you can get away with, and so you get to explore that and try and find the fastest lap that you can. But then when it comes down to it, you still got to get the car around the track with the other 30 or so cars that you've got out there.
And of course, looking forward to the next race of the season at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. As we have mentioned multiple times throughout the show, the rest of the season, outside of the season finale for the Spec Racer Fords for both here in the SRFs and the Formula Fords, still left uncovered. So if you'd like to make these broadcasts possible, you can by joining the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server, getting in contact with any of us here in the broadcast booth, Josh Wilkie, or series admin Stevie Ray, and try and make these broadcasts possible. Donations are accepted in the Ray Esports PayPal that we can link to you in the SMB Discord server. But folks, that'll just about do it here for round number 7 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Summit Point. Our thanks once again to Bobby West for making the broadcast possible. He actually has an Instagram page, West Tech Esports, that he's always decided to promote here with these broadcasts as well. Have a lot of action coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, the regular Formula V Weekend Warriors action every single Saturday, as well as the Sim Racers Group action this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday, and the return of the Grand Prix Tour Porsche Cup Series. You'll be able to catch myself and Jeremy Scott on the call for that here in just a little over 24 hours time on the channel. That'll be at Portimao there in Portugal. And of course, a little bit later on here this month as well, right at the end on May 30th, it'll be the Adam W.E. Step Memorial Scholarship Charity Race. That'll be in Mustang GT3 cars. That'll be an awesome race to look forward to. Charles, you'll be out there on the racetrack with some of your members as well from Olympus Esports. That'll be a real fun event to end off the month of May.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna be fun. We had a practice session this morning. I'm faster than all the AI drivers, so I feel pretty good about myself right now. But yeah, I got one of my teammates who is a Royal Navy veteran. Will be joining me out on the track when we're in those Mustang GT3s. We're gonna have a lot of fun. It looks like a really, really good group of drivers who have already signed up. So it's gonna be a barn burner, I believe. I think we're gonna have us a really good race out there at Road America.
And that's certainly going to be a fun one. Of course, you'll be able to see the action live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting come time for that broadcast on May 30th here in 2026. If you ever want to miss out on the racing action, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell? And if you're not in the mood for a broadcast, you can always take a look at our YouTube shorts, the fantastic moments that we have week in and week out here on SMB in short form, and you'll be able to see that action all the time by just clicking on the Shorts tab here on the YouTube channel. And if you want to know how to get your league broadcasted here by Slow Motion Broadcasting, go to www.slowmotionbroadcasting.com. But as for this broadcast here today for round number 7 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Summit Point, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working all the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.